Okay, so I know that the last video was, pretty overwhelming to most of. I'm not like judging right now because I don't know, but like I know that last video was kind of a lot to digest. So that's why I decided to bring the whole video and sum it up to what three concepts or break it down into three sections, right? To breaking the whole application into three sections. So what is the essence of doing something like this? So the essence is so that we can do what we could pay attention to the most important aspect of what of the application and leave the little things for the babies. Makes sense, right? So first of all, we have data management. So we have data management. So yes, when working on a real world application, you want to be handling a lot of data coming from different angles or different part of the world, right? You don't know whose data it is, but you just know that you'll be handling what you'll be handling wide range of what of data. For instance, if a user opens a new account in your application, that's data. If a user wants to change his or her email, that's data. If a user wants to upload or wants to upload a new asset in the Airbnb application, that's data. If a user wants to request the whole data or his or her whole data stored in your application, that's data for crying out loud. So you need a way to manage those data. Like in YouTube, I know there is a section where you can request your whole data in YouTube. And if you want to delete the data, it's allowed. You can do something like that. And if a user wants to also delete his account from your application, that's also data leaving your application. So you need to what? You need to drive a way to manage all of these data. Makes sense, right? Then after that, we go to the second one, which is what? Persisting of data. So we have what? We have persisting data. So this is what you want to do because, for instance, if a user should open an account or register an account with your company or your friend, and when your application is done running, and now the user wants to log in, and the application is echoing that you don't have an account with us, why? Because there was no way, or you didn't persist the data of the user. It makes no sense, right? So we need a way to persist the data of the user. But now here lies the problem in our own end because we'll be working with what? We'll be working with Python objects. So we'll be collecting or we'll be gathering data as what? As Python objects. But now there is a problem. And what is the problem? So the problem is that we cannot write raw Python object into our database, which is what? Which is our file storage. So now the Python only writes strings into what? Or str into what? Into the database. So for us to be able to write the raw Python object into the database, we have to do what? We have to convert the raw Python object into what? Into str. Or we could take the first step of converting this raw Python object into what? Into a dictionary. But now, even converting this into a dictionary, we cannot still write it into our database. We still have to convert this dictionary into str. But the problem lies here. The problem is that if we convert this dictionary into str and persist it into our file storage, now it's going to be littered inside of our file storage, and we'll see that in action when we start writing codes. So it's going to be littered inside of our database, and we cannot be able to identify a particular user because it will be loaded into the database as a string. Then aside from that, remember that strings in Python are immutable, meaning that if we have a dictionary that has a key and a value, which is something like the name and the value, the age and the value, we cannot update any single value in there. Why? Because it is now a string type and not a dictionary type. So that means anything you put there or you persist there at the first instance becomes what is going to be inside of that dictionary, or that's like call it a string dictionary at the end of what of the application because strings are immutable, so we cannot update the value. So if that is the case, how can we now solve this problem? So how we can solve this problem is by introducing what is called adjacent model. Adjacent model. And what is adjacent model? So it basically means on JavaScript object notation. So this is an accepted word data format that we all as developers agree to or work with. So this is what JavaScript object notation. So why do we have to work with this JavaScript object notation instead of what? Instead of working with Python dictionary or Python object. So now here lies the main problem of this working with Python dictionary. So the main problem is that Python dictionary is not compatible with what? With every other word programming language. And what does that mean? What it means is that now other programming language understand dictionary or what we call dictionary in Python as different data type. Like I know some languages call it object, some call it hash map. Makes sense, right? So for that reason, you know that data is meant to be flexible. And if data is meant to be flexible, that means if you have a data in your database, it means that every other person working with another programming language should be able to do what? Should be able to access and work with your data. So we'll give you a clear instance of that. So think about your API. So your API is being represented in what? In JSON format. So that is why somebody working with Python can do what? Can consume an API. Somebody working with JavaScript can consume an API. React can consume, C++ can consume what? An API, because it's what? It's represented in JSON format. And every single programming language have a understand what? Have a way to understand what? Have a way to understand the JSON format. So if not for that, that means an API written with Python can only be consumed by Python developers, which will totally make no sense. So this is the reason why we have to want to convert to JSON. But now we are going to do what? We're going to take it step by step. So we're going to convert to dictionary. We're going to convert Python objects to dictionary. And after converting to a dictionary, we're not going to convert this dictionary to JSON. And JSON represents or converts Python dictionary into what is called a JavaScript object. Is it beginning to make sense? And if you remember, I told you earlier that converting Python objects dictionary is our first step of what? Serialization. And I know you might be wondering what is serialization, and I will teach you. So serialization, or I get to hear a lot of people say that serialization is the process of converting Python object into JSON object, Python dictionary into JSON object, which might be true, but technically it's false, because if you write this in an interview, you will fail woefully or you will fail with flying colors, if that's right. So what is serialization? So serialization is the process of what? Is the process of converting data, or is the process of converting object into what? Into streams of bytes. Into a stream of bytes, sorry. Converting data into a stream of bytes so that it can be easily saved and what? Work with. Makes sense, right? So if you listen, it is what? Converting object. And it's what? There is no place I say converting Python object. It is what? Converting object. So that object means object of any type, regardless of any language, into what? Into a stream of bytes so that they can be easily saved or work with. So this is like the layman understanding. So I don't want to start giving you like the full definition of what? Of serialization. And the process of converting it back to that particular language dictionary or whatever, it's called what? It's called deserialization. So converting from Python dictionary to JavaScript object is called serialization. And converting it back from JavaScript object to Python dictionary is called what? Deserialization. So if you understand me, that is what we'll be doing in this application. So we'll be needing to work again with our what? With our dictionary. So we have to what? Reconstruct that object that was inside of our file storage back into Python what? Into Python dictionary. So does it make sense? So why I decided to go about the proper definition of serialization is so that you understand that it's nothing or it's not anything peculiar to what? To Python. So serialization works in a lot of tech aspects. It works in web development, and when we want to exchange data between client and server. It works in building API. It works in catching or want to persist data or objects in what? In the disk of the browser or in the memory. So that serialization works in a lot of places, and it's not anything peculiar to what? To So afterwards, we have to convert our Python dictionary or our Python object into JSON object so that we can work efficiently with that data, and our data can also be flexible, and every other person working with any other language can access our data and also work with that data. So that way we have established a proper handling and persistence of what? Of data. Then after that, we have the last but not the least. So we have what? We have three, which is what? Which is manipulating data. Manipulating. I know the light is reflecting, but clearly manipulating data. So yes, so what we mean by manipulating data, we need a way to access the data that we need store inside of this file storage or inside of our database. We need what? We need a way to give the user a room or a space where the user can update his account, can delete his account, can retrieve his or her account, can see his account, can block his account, because that is also what you do in a real world application. You can go to the settings page and do what? And change your username, change your email, update your password, and a lot of operations you can carry out. So that space will be providing what a console. So do you see where the console come? We'll be providing a console. Oh, so I noticed you can't see this. So let's clean this up. So in that case, we'll be providing what? We'll be providing a console. So instead of the UI, we'll be providing a console. So with this console, the user can see an interface that he or she can use to manipulate his or her data in our application. So if you want to delete your account, we'll have a room for you. You can just input some commands that we saw previously in this video, and you delete your account and you have no account with us. But please don't delete your account. We love you so much, and we want you to stay in our application. Thank you so much. So this is a recap of the whole video, and everything will be basically what doing in this video. So instead of summarize it into what three sections. The first section is data management. The second section is processing of our data, and then the last but not the least section is what manipulating our data. So it's going to be a very fun project to build together. So in the next video, we'll be writing code, and we see every of these come into play bit by bit by bit. And it's going to be very, very fun. Trust me. So stay tuned and catch you in the next video. Thank you so much.